Welcome. We are on, let's see, we're the place where God gets the glory for his creation. We're on Rumble, Kent Hovind Official, on YouTube at Genesis Baptist Church, and on Odyssey at Kent Hovind Official. Tonight, March the 29th, 2023, Whack an Atheist Wednesday, where we whack the atheist, try to knock some sense into him. Tonight, Dr. Dan, Creation Myths channel, came on the other night, and when there was 12 on 1, what was it, Randall, 10 or 12 against me? He was in there. Dan, I'll take you on any time in a debate. You bring it on, okay? So let's see. What's this? I can't read the date. March? Yeah. Dr. Dan, here we are, March 29th. Tomorrow, this Friday night, another debate on Standing for Truth with Ken Rock. Gonna try it again. Ken, you're on the wrong side, okay? Then in April, let's see, April 1st. Wow, is that only, how far off is that? That's this Saturday. Wow, time flies. A famous holiday, National Atheist Day, April Fool's Day. You're a fool if you don't believe in God. All you atheists, come on this Saturday. We'll treat you like royalty. We really will. Give you a steak dinner, show you around the Science Center, give you tours. Come on down to Dinosaur Adventureland. Then we have the 16th coming up in 2 weeks, the anniversary of us getting this property, 7-year anniversary. We were in Pensacola for 26 years, and then now here 7 years. So come join us at Dinosaur Adventureland Homecoming, April 16th. Church at 10:30 right here in Genesis Baptist Church. Then in May, you can come visit. We do sessions every night except for Saturday here, so I can get a break, that's all. And then June, boot camp coming up. We got 4 speakers for sure. I forgot to put the names on this calendar, but it's going to be a cool boot camp on creation. Come on down. Help us grow and tell others about our channel. If you see a message that we share here that you say, man, that'd be a blessing to Aunt Susie, share it with them. Subscribe and share, please. Visitors from all over the place. Let's see, Joe and Nicole came down here to get married. All right. You'll find 2 can live as cheap as 1, but only for half as long. Yeah. Right. That'll be tomorrow. Anybody come to the wedding? Want everybody invite everybody? Okay. All right. We offer tours here, the Real Safari Tour, the Science Center Tour, the Farm Tour, and the Playground Set the Record Tour. Come on down. The Bible says clearly in 6 days the Lord made everything. Everything. That means dinosaurs lived with man. It means we're lying to the kids when we say dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. No, they did not. Part of the normal creation. We believe evolution theory is actually the dumbest and most dangerous religious cult in the history of the world. It's best defined as a mental illness to believe in evolution. The fool said in his heart, there's no God. Come take the tours on our side-by-sides and now the Jeeps. You took we went today in the yellow Jeep, right? No. The new Jeep. You're the only people to take a tour in it. And now we got somebody who wants to buy it. So that'll probably be the only tour we ever give. In what color is that? Light blue, gray? I don't know. Light blue. Beautiful, man. Anyway, all the bells and whistles and more. But you got to have a stepladder to get in it. So anyway, if you want to help us win souls, you know a better place to invest in your money in the Lord's kingdom. If you want to help us, please do go to drdino.com. Help us win souls. Stay open for free. Make any checks at drdino.com to CSE, Creation Science Evangelism. Okay, let's get up to Whack an Atheist. Excavator. We're still looking for a long reach. Get our video series on science in the Bible and our series on what on earth is about to happen. Also got a whole series of videos on miscellaneous topics besides creation called the Special Messages, $60 for the whole thing. The message I did on Leviathan, the fire-breathing dragon of Job 41. Don't swing at the first pitch. I love that sermon. How to make money and spend it God's way. 5 reasons why evolution is stupid. Or reasons why evolution is stupid. And then more reasons evolution is stupid. Oh, on this the one here. Then first love, great from Revelation. And how to start a fire department. The Bible and health. All these are sermons on other topics, not necessarily creation. Where's the bride? School ideas, just ideas to how to teach your kids things. Public school presentation, magic tricks and how to do them. 13 videos. For $60, you can get our special series. Your kids will love the magic tricks one. Okay, come visit Dinosaur Adventureland. We're glad you're here. Brother, you were here before? No, your son was here before. Yeah, I was here before. Okay, well, we'll give you the tour tomorrow. Okay, sounds great. Welcome to Whack an Atheist Wednesday with Dr. Kent, the science gent. Got the cup to prove it? Dr. Kent, the science gent. They think you can only be a doctor if you believe in evolution. You came from a rock. Yeah, okay. Tons of fun. It's free. Dinosaur Adventureland, straight north of Pensacola, 70 miles. We're in our Genesis Baptist Church. I've been a Baptist preacher 48, almost 49 now, this May. And done 322 debates against atheists. and you're all invited. No atheists are harmed. It's a game, folks. Like whack-a-mole game, whack an atheist. It's a joke. We take those who believe they came from a rock, try to get some real science. Where'd it go? No. Got to have the hammer. Oh, well. Aha. Real science. Knock some sense into them. You didn't come from a rock. God created you. Okay. Even small children can learn how to do it. It's fun. Whack them with the real truth. So much fun. So many atheists. Keep going. We're trying to wake you up. You're going to face God Judgment Day. We're your best friend and you don't even know it yet. So, target-rich environment. They're everywhere, folks. Type in atheist. See how many there are. There's thousands. They don't know yet. We need to explain it to them. Lots of atheists. We're going to do one at a time. So tonight, the winner is Dr. Dan, Stern Cardinal, host of the YouTube channel, Creation Myths. He came on the other night when they were ganging up on me, tried to throw his 2 cents worth in about how there's proof for evolution. He said, I bet you don't even know the 5 mechanisms of evolution. Well, Dan, I'm going to explain it to you now. You don't know them either, okay? There's a lot of myths in history. People have told a creation story. Almost every culture, at some point, the kids get big enough, hey, mommy, hey, daddy, how did the world get here? And they have a story. The cultures have a story. The Babylonian creation myth, the Greeks had one, the Japanese have one. If you can prove some wrong, it doesn't prove they're all wrong, okay? The Enuma Elias, that's the one from Babylon. They say it's about 1,000 lines. It's recorded in a couple of places on 7 clay tablets. It's one of the most important sources revealing the Babylonian worldview. Last paragraph. Over the 7 tablets, it describes the creation of the world, a battle between gods focused on the supremacy of Marduk, the creation of man destined for service. You can read the whole story. Yes, there are a lot of creation myths, plenty of them, from various cultures around the world. Many have obvious errors and contradictions with science, but if some are indeed myths, that does not prove all stories are myths. The biggest creation myth is the evolution story of how we got here, and it is nothing but a story. Creation Myths with Dr. Dan, YouTube. Check out his channel, okay? Creation Myths, Answers in Genesis, did a good section. Yes, there are lots of creation myths. But again, it doesn't prove they're all wrong. Matter of fact, the finding must prove there must have been a creation of some kind. Why would all the cultures be telling about it? Okay, so Dr. Dan teaches his students there are 5 mechanisms of evolution. He completely skips over the first 4 essential steps of evolution and starts with already living things. They love this. They want to start with, well, you take the first life form and, we'll stop right there. Where did time come from? Where did space come from? Where did energy come from? Where did the matter come from? Where did life come from? They want to skip all that. And they say, well, there's just 5 steps to evolution. Okay? Mechanism, mutations. Oh, you think mutations in the DNA is going to change things to something else? Dan, is that what you believe? You teach your students that that's a mechanism for evolution? The ultimate source of variation. Individual mutations occur so rarely that mutation alone usually does not change allele frequency much. Then there's gene flow. Animals, mate with other creatures and other hives and stuff, the beehives, etc. A very potent agent of change. Individuals or gametes move from one population to another. So you got an already complex gamete and you're moving it to another population. And that's evolution? That's going to help evolution? Come on, Dan. Then you have non-random mating or self-fertilization. Oh, that's going to help evolution? Oh, yeah. He says inbreeding is the most common form. It does not alter allele frequency, but changes the proportion of the heterozygotes. Then you have genetic drift. Look at this. Only the red birds moved out to the island, and now they all have red bird babies. Dan, they started off a bird. They ended up a bird. They already had red birds. You selected a slice of the population. See, genetic drift, natural selection, is not going to create anything. That is based on statistical accidents. See, evolution is based on the faulty assumption that mutations make something new and better. It's never been seen. Natural selection makes it survive and take over the population. Maybe, maybe not. And evolution is a religion of death. See, if one animal evolves better than the rest of them have to die in order for this to work. This is Adolf Hitler 101. Let's pick the superior race, obviously the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Norwegians and Germans, and let's kill everybody else. That's what Hitler believed. He really did. It was evolution that motivated him to do what he did, which was evil. Mutations. They say mutations are the original source of variation in populations. Really. Darwin said, "It's a truly wonderful fact that all animals and all plants throughout all time and space should be related to each other." Charlie, that's a lie. It's not a fact at all. I think it might be reasonably concluded that all the cows came from a common ancestor called a cow. It doesn't prove cows are related to mosquitoes. And scientists who really dare to speak the truth know this is true, like Pierre Paul Gross. He said, no matter how numerous they may be, mutations do not produce any kind of evolution. Mutations are rearranging already existing genes. It's a typo. That's all it is. Mutations have many possible causes. Mutations seem to happen spontaneously without influence. They occur when errors are made during DNA replication or during the transcription phase of protein synthesis. Other mutations are caused by environmental factors. Anything in the environment that can cause a mutation is known as a mutagen. Okay, let's see. It can be done by radiation, by X-rays. Sure, I believe mutations happen, no question. I do not believe it's going to change anything to anything else. Chemicals can do it. Smoking, vaping, they can cause mutations to happen. I agree. There are types of mutations. Germline. See, if it happens in the germline, then all the babies inherit that. Okay? Then there's somatic ones. They only happen to that particular person. That's not going to get passed on. Cannot be passed on to the offspring. So if you have a mutation, that may not get passed on to anybody else. Those are the two types of mutations. Okay. Chromosomal alterations are mutations that change chromosome structure. They occur when a section of a chromosome breaks off and rejoins incorrectly. This would be like a typographical error where part of the word breaks off and sticks back into the sentence somewhere else. This is what a rough analogy of what you're talking about mutations here, like this, chromosomal alterations. They often result in death of an organism in which they occur. If the organism survives, it may be affected in multiple ways. Example, human disease caused by chromosomal duplication. And there are many of the hundreds of these diseases that are caused by a mutation of the chromosome. It broke off, got stuck in the wrong place. Think of it like a typographical error. How many of you have ever had to write papers for school and you have made some errors or goofs in the paper? Always check for spelling errors. I never make typos. Okay. Ode to the typographical error. Paris, can you read that to me? What's that say? Paris in the spring. Almost everybody misses the double the. How many ever did a paper and you did a typographical error before? You goofed it, okay? Biggest typo in church history. When they were making a copy of the Bible, it came to be known as the Wicked Bible. Because the printers, back in the early days, printing was pretty primitive. You got to line the letters up in the row, and they said the 10 Commandments, thou shalt commit adultery. I don't think I have that Bible. I got a Bible collection of a bunch of different ones. I'm sure Gail Ripplinger has that. Typographical errors. Anybody see a typographical error? The road to Sydney, hello, SYD, Sydney, Australia. Never mind, okay. Examples of observations. A typo can change the meaning of anything. This is a book. Because of a typo, Florida Sheriff's Office received a rug dealing in Dog We Trust. It'll be auctioned to benefit Animal Rescue Group. In God We Trust. Typographical error. They switch. This is what you evolutionists count on, this type of thing, to create new life forms. You got an already amazing code and you want to switch the letters around and claim it'll do some good. Typos. Earning Google $497 million a year, according to Harvard University. 68 million people today mistype the names of highly trafficked websites, landing on bogus sites called typo squatters, to which Google supplies ads, thereby hauling in a fortune. The typo of the year went to Reuters this year, 2005. Quaker Made Meats Incorporated on Tuesday said it would voluntarily recall 94,000 pounds of frozen ground beef panties.
Sounds uncomfortable.
Sounds uncomfortable, doesn't it? Yeah. The penguin group, Australia, turns over 120 million a year from printing words, but a one-word misprint has cost it dearly. The publishing company was forced to pulp and reprint, meaning grind them up, the pasta Bible, how to make recipes. It called for a recipe of salt and freshly ground black people instead of pepper. One typo. See, evolution, you guys, the mutations in the genetic code cause damage, not improvement. Not improvement. They don't get it. Mutations may remove information. They can duplicate it. They can scramble it into gibberish, but they don't create anything. There's a five-legged bull. That's not new information. He already had the information to make a leg. He made one in the wrong spot. See, it can remove information, duplicate it, scramble it, or change it to gibberish. That's all. Mutations are not going to help evolution. There's no scientific evidence that mutations support the evolution theory or can add new, useful information. If such evidence exists, please show me. But don't lie to students to make them believe a theory. Dan, one of the 5 mechanisms you think, and you want your students to think, is going to cause evolution is mutations. It doesn't work. Here's a short-legged sheep, a mutant. This mutation would not last in nature. He's the first one the wolf's going to catch, isn't he? Come on now. A two-headed turtle. That's a mutant. He's not ninja, but he's mutant. See, nobody makes a double-neck turtleneck sweater. He's going to freeze first winter. From the letters of the word Christmas, you can scramble them up and get all kinds of different words. But you can't get Xerox, zebra, or queen. And you guys think scrambling existing information, mutations, is going to cause evolution. No, it's not. It'll cause destruction. Here's a mutated fly, has 4 wings. Textbook says, normal fruit flies have 2 wings. This mutant has 4. This rare mutation, like most mutations, is harmful. And then it tells the kids, beneficial mutations are the raw material for natural selection. Teacher, why didn't you give an example of a beneficial one? Why did you show a bad one and tell the kids to imagine? Imagine the good ones. There aren't any good ones. Evil what they're doing to our kids. One professor I debated, he said, I can prove a beneficial mutation. People that get sickle cell anemia cannot get malaria. Okay. That's like saying if you cut off both your legs, you can't get athlete's foot. There's no new information such that would turn an amoeba to a whale. Mutations aren't going to work. Beneficial mutations, some have positive effect. Allow organisms to withstand the environmental factors or reproduce quicker. Example, color that allows animals to camouflage better. Stop, guys, think about it. Hold it, stop. The penguin already had feathers. It lost the color. That's not new information. That's not a beneficial mutation. Beneficial mutation example. There are 40 villagers have a point mutation which alters the protein produced by just 1 amino acid. This is 10 times more effective at mopping up excess cholesterol. Wait. So we already have a mechanism to mop up cholesterol, and theirs is just more effective. That's not going to help evolution. It's not adding new information, okay? Beneficial mutations, antibiotic resistance. This is the stuff they rely on. Biology textbooks and other chapters teach that most mutations are pathologic or disease-causing, but they don't apply that information to evolution. The worst diseases doctors treat today are caused by genetic mutations. 4,000 diseases caused by mutations in DNA. The human genome contains a complete set of instructions for the production of a human being. Genetic genome research has already exposed errors, mutations in these instructions that lead to heart disease, cancer, and neurological degeneration. These diseases are often crippling, often fatal. Many of affected preborn infants are aborted spontaneously. They are so badly damaged they can't even survive gestation. That's pregnancy. However, the biology textbooks, when discussing mutation and evolution, only discuss very rare positive mutation, like sickle cell anemia. The fact some 4,000 devastating genetic diseases is suppressed from publication. So Dan, you said one of the factors that makes evolution is mutations. Let's see your good ones. A lot of them. trillions of them to turn an amoeba to a whale. Another so-called factor that's going to drive evolution is natural selection. Natural selection works fine. It selects. It doesn't create anything. Creationists have no argument with natural selection. We thought of it first. It's a conservative process that removes defective organisms and keeps the species strong. It's a selection process. It doesn't create anything. Natural selection may have a stabilizing effect. It does not promote speciation. It is a creative force, as many people have suggested. It's not a creative force, as many people have suggested. All it does is select. Natural selection can only act on properties that already exist. You can't create properties in order to meet adaptational needs. This is well known. Dan, why do you teach people that natural selection is going to drive evolution? Evolution in action. Did you know finches that have larger and stronger beaks were better able to open the tough pods and survive on the islands? Yeah. So some of the finches went over to this other island, and the only food to eat was, tough to crack, nuts. So only the finches with a heavy-duty beak survived. The rest of them starved. Darwin noticed this. He shot all the finches he could find. He hated birds because he loved worms. He thought it was mean for birds to eat worms, so he shot all the birds. Probably was a lunatic, but he studied all the finches on these islands and said, I believe there are 14 kinds of finches. Charlie, I believe you're right. He said, I think they had a common ancestor. And the food on these islands has selected what type survived. Good observation. That's true. But then he said, this proves finches are related to mosquitoes. He didn't say it in those words, but that's what he teaches. Isn't that evolution? All life forms are related. All the guys behind me on my chart here. Let's see, Professor Dan's related to a strawberry. The other Professor Dan. I got their chart right here. Yeah. Snake was right. He's related to a ladybug. He said so right on camera. Mm-hmm. Luca is related to a cow. Let's see, Wade the Wizard is related to a snail. Mm-hmm. P.Z. Myers related. He is a fish. I got it right here, guys. I'll add more. It's dumb, real dumb. So it's true. Then this textbook says, evolution by natural selection had occurred in just a year. Natural selection didn't create anything. It already had a beak. Some of them already had a tough beak. They're the ones that survived on that island. It didn't create the tough beak. How can they not get it? Over a long period of time, natural selection can lead to evolution. This is a lie that they teach the kids. Natural selection is not going to lead to any evolution. If you worked in a factory that made cars, and you were part of quality control, car comes down the line, you check it out, slam the doors, kick the tires, start it up, drive it around. And you found and caught every single mistake. They don't, by the way, okay? But if you did, how long would it take that selection process of selecting only quality cars to get through? How long would it take that selection process to change the car to an airplane? That's what you guys are counting on with your evolution. They've been artificially selecting dogs for bigger or smaller or smarter or dumber. They end up with a variety of dogs, and they're still dog. That's artificial selection, people doing it, or nature can do it. You can turn all the dogs in the world loose in Alaska, come back in 5 years. All you got is those that look similar to a wolf, thick fur, big body. How long would Jack survive in Alaska? Your little 20 minutes? Yeah. He barks at everything. Some deer up there or moose would teach him to fly. He'd come up barking, bam, there goes Jack. Yeah, okay. See, dogs, wolves, coyotes, and bananas probably had a common ancestor. I ask 5-year-olds this question. Which one of these is not like the other? A child can tell you. The banana. National Geographic, wolf to woof. Yep, I agree. Man has selectively bred dogs down to where they get all kinds of varieties. There are now 339 recognized breeds of dogs. Had a common ancestor. God said they'd bring forth after their kind. See, variations happen, but they have limits. Farmers have been breeding for bigger pigs for a long time. Do you think they'll ever get a pig as big as Texas? No, there's a limit somewhere, isn't there? Roaches become resistant to pesticides. Do you think they'll ever become resistant to a sledgehammer? I bet there's a limit, okay? They always produce the same kind of plant or animal. That's not evolution. The information for that variation was already in the gene code. No new information was added. The dogs don't become pink or learn to fly. They just don't get it. The gene pool of the new variety is limited, not enhanced. There's nothing new in a Chihuahua. They lost information and half their brain. See, How long would chihuahuas last in the real world? 20 minutes? Go ahead. Make my day, buddy. Bark one more time. Okay. Genetic information is lost. Farmers have been trying to raise different breeds of corn for centuries. And they now have, I forget how many, several thousand different varieties of corn. How many have had sweet corn versus hard corn? Some's hard, some's sweet, some's bigger, some's smaller. It's corn. Genetic information is lost, and real evolution would require an increase in genetic frequency. Complexity, not a shift of frequency. I come from Illinois, corn country, all around Groveland, Illinois. There were rows of corn. They all have numbers on them. There's BX65. Oh, what's that one good for? I don't know, but don't mix it up with 774. Something will blow up, But you can crossbreed your corn from now till the cows come home, and you're going to get corn. You're never going to get a whale or a tomato or a hamster on that corn stalk. Never. Same with the dogs. Divergent evolution, this Irish textbook calls it. They're saying all the dog kinds came from a wolf. I wouldn't argue with that. That's divergent evolution. Giving it a fancy name doesn't change the fact. It's still a dog. You didn't change it to something else. The different kinds of horses. Zebras might have had a common ancestor. I wouldn't argue. We had the world's smallest horse come visit Dinosaur Adventureland in Pensacola. I agree. There are some pretty tiny horses and some pretty big horses. And maybe the zebras are related. Could be. I wouldn't argue that. Zebroids. Horses and zebras can interbreed. Wow. Maybe they're the same kind. For years, they've been trying to get faster horses for the Kentucky Derby. How much money would you guess has been spent trying to get faster horses to win that race? Billions of dollars, right? They selectively breed. Which one's faster? Back in the early days, the average winning speed was 127 seconds. Now, 123 seconds. They shaved off 4 seconds. But even back in the old days, they had some awful good times back there. Look, if you really believe in evolution, why don't you breed wings on the horse and fly around the track in 12 seconds? All they've gotten is faster horses, and they've reached a limit, and there's more problems. Now you got to babysit the horse. He couldn't go out and live in the woods by himself. Same thing with the cows. Same thing with the chickens. Hundreds and hundreds, maybe even, 500 varieties of chickens. Probably had a common ancestor called a chicken. This textbook talks about the jungle fowl. Jungle fowl are the original bird from which all variations and strains of domesticated chickens are derived. I agree. Natural selection selects, Dan. It doesn't create anything. That's one of your methods, your mechanisms of evolution. The 5 mechanisms. None, zip, zero, nada of Dan's 5 mechanisms of evolution will ever change any kind of plant or animal into any other kind. He skips over the first 4 major essential steps of evolution, and I know why. He wants to start with already living things. Genetic drift, understanding evolution. Genetic drift, here it is. Darwin's finches, known as the, look at that, heavy beak on some, skinny beak on others. He wants to skip these first 4. Where did time, space, matter come from? Where did all the elements come from? How did stars and planets form? How did life get started? No, Dan, you want to start with already living things, don't you? Okay, even starting there, you don't have any evidence for your theory. God said they'd bring forth after their kind, after their kind, after their kind, after their kind. It's in here a whole bunch of times, 24 times in the first 7 chapters, just to make sure maybe you would get it, okay? 450 recognized breeds of cows. How many kinds of cows? They use the word kind. Oh, no. Most of the cows would not survive in nature. Man has developed cows that give more milk. This one gives 185 pounds of milk every day. Utterly ridiculous. How long would that survive in the woods on its own? Half a day? Dogs. Yep. How many kinds of dogs are there? 339 breeds of dogs. Most would not survive. In nature, you got to protect them. How long would this guy last out there in the woods? Or this one, like my wife's dog. How long would that one last? You evolutionists just don't get it. I don't know what else to do. Try to knock some sense into you. You have believed something extremely stupid. Stop and think. Do you ever think about what you think about? Who taught you that? Man, wake up. Okay. Transitional fossils. No fossil could count as transitional. You can't prove any fossil had any children that lived. You sure couldn't prove it had kids that were different than itself. No animal today can produce kids other than their same kind. No animal does that. Why would we believe bones in the dirt could do it? This guy said, my attempts to demonstrate evolution by an experiment carried on for 40 years have completely failed. At least I should hardly be accused of having started from a preconceived anti-evolutionary standpoint. This is not a creationist coming at it. This evolutionist tried for 40 years to see evolution happen. It may be firmly maintained that it is not even possible to make a caricature of evolution out of the paleobiological facts. The fossil material is now so complete, it's been possible to construct new classes, and the lack of transitional series cannot be explained as being due to the scarcity of material. That's what they always say. Why don't we find the missing links? Well, we're not done searching yet. Code word for send more government money. Yeah, okay. The deficiencies are real. They will never be filled. Okay, guys, where's the evidence? Evolution News. Abrupt appearance of species in the fossil record does not support Darwinian evolution. The fossil record, and there's no such thing as a fossil record, has long been recognized as a problem for evolutionary theory. In The Origin of Species, Darwin explained his theory led him to believe that the number of intermediate varieties, which must have formerly existed on Earth, must be truly enormous. There must be lots of them. However, he understood that the fossil record did not document these intermediate forms of life when he said, why then is not every geological formation and every stratum full of such intermediate links? Darwin's answer showed the tenuous nature of the evidence backing his theory, his idea. Geology assuredly does not reveal any such finely graduated organic chain. And this, perhaps, is the most obvious and gravest objection that can be urged against my theory. Stephen Gould admitted the absence of fossil evidence for intermediary stages between major transitions has been a persistent and nagging problem. You think so, Stephen? He knows better now. So, Dan, you believe these mechanisms are going to cause evolution. They're not going to do any such thing. I feel bad that you've been deceived by all this. We see natural selection works where the birds can probably spot the black one on the white tree better than the white one on the white tree. So they eat most of the black ones. That's not evolution. It's still a peppered moth. I wish I could explain it in ways you could comprehend it or admit it, okay? Evolution doesn't happen. It's been proven wrong years ago. Natural selection only selects. But they put it up in the Tulsa Zoo as evidence for evolution. Dark and light-colored moths. It's still a moth. They already had 2 colors of moths before you started any of this. Best evidence for evolution. They teach this all over the place. Evidence for evolution. The peppered moth experiment. The moth population shifted from mostly white to mostly black as the trees turned black from burning coal in the factories. Okay. The moth population was able to adapt to the new environment. Well, the ratio of the population changed in connection with the color of the trees. This helped prove we all came from a rock. No, guys, that proves no such thing. All right, we got one more thought to get across here, I think. Let me get to my... He says selection is going to make it work right here. Natural selection, 5 mechanisms. None of them are going to change anything, Dan. None of your 5 mechanisms are going to change to prove that we all came from the same kind of animal. But I have 5 mechanisms to explain how this rock formation appeared. A friend suggested I compare Dr. Dan's 5 mechanisms of evolution to the formation of Mount Rushmore. So I said, that's a good idea. What are the 5 forces that made Mount Rushmore? Well, first we have thermal expansion. That played a major part in forming these faces. As the sun shines on the rock, it warms and expands. As the sun moves to different angles, it heats different parts more rapidly, causing differential expansion. See, thermal expansion is very important for highway builders. They have to put those fingers in there so that when on a hot day, you'll see they're closed tight. On a cold day, they open up because the concrete is shrinking and contracting, thermal expansion. So thermal expansion accounts for, nobody carved these faces. I mean, nobody. This happened by thermal expansion, okay? The rock got shined on by the sun, expanded, made that nose stick out there, okay? Thermal expansion, that's one. Exfoliation is obviously another one. That played a great part in forming these faces as well. This can be clearly seen by the huge talus at the bottom. Exfoliation is where rocks just break off, flake off the top. Exfoliation or onion skin weathering The external delaminated layers of rock are gradually produced by the cyclic variations of temperature at the surface of the rock in a process called spalling. Frost and ice expansion in the joints during winter accelerate the alteration process, and assisted by gravity. Gravity made it fall down. Most all rocks can exfoliate under the right conditions. So obviously, these will look like these faces. Some of it's been done by exfoliation, because there's the evidence right there. Nobody carved them. Between thermal expansion and exfoliation, I think we can answer most of them. There's still a few more factors going to help. Thermal expansion played a part, exfoliation, but abrasion did also. Rocks rubbing against each other. Yeah. Wearing away the rocks. Abrasion. Wearing down or smoothing of a material due to constant collisions. Caused by friction, rocks become rounded, waterfalls may result. Abrasion of rock is a process of erosion, which occurs when material being transported wears away at the surface over time. Scuffing, scratching, wearing down, marring, and rubbing. It's caused by wind and water rushing over the rocks, causing them to bump against one another, changing their shapes. Rocks become smoother as the rough and jagged edges break off. So there's evidence for erosion, for abrasion, because some of these parts of this, what look like faces, are very smooth. So between thermal expansion and abrasion, I think we can answer most of this, and exfoliation. Plus, there's also water erosion. That would help remove some of the material. Mount Rushmore only gets about 22 inches of rain a year. But I think water erosion played a part in making these faces here. Geologic activity certainly played a part. Multiple things cause the geology of the earth to change. Just as the earth spins under the moon, not only does the water go up and down in the tide, the land goes up and down. Alabama lifts up about 2 inches and it goes back down. We don't feel it because the whole country is lifting up from the moon's gravity. But there are fault lines all over the United States. Earthquake reports from Saturday at 7:30 in the morning. Wow. Earthquakes in South Dakota? Look at that. South Dakota, they have some geologic activity up there. The U.S. Geological Service has shown this area subject to various types of geological activity. This undoubtedly helped shape Mount Rushmore. Plus, lightning. You know how much energy is in a lightning bolt? That would help force these things. It looks like a face, but it's not, okay? Geologic forces of earth tremors, earthquakes, heat, pressure, deposition, uplift have all combined with millions of years of time to create the spectacular faces on Mount Rushmore. Erosive forces like wind, rain, snow, frost wedging probably played a role, but it's unlikely that deposition forces were involved. Nothing being deposited. Everything's taking away. And it's certain there was no intelligent designer. Don't need one to explain this. Not only were these faces formed by natural forces of thermal expansion, exfoliation, abrasion, erosion, geologic activity, complex bodies of the men represented here were also formed by natural forces like mutations, gene flow, self-fertilization, genetic drift, and natural selection. That's what you believe, Dan, isn't it? Dr. Dan has clearly shown that the idea of intelligent creator is a myth. I clearly showed Mount Rushmore was not formed by humans. It's obvious to anyone with a real PhD from an accredited university, these shapes on the mountain are a result of deep time and chance. If they really were created by a designer, why don't they all face the same way? There's proof right there. Many flaws like these can be seen. Look at that piece of it looks like a lip. That's not a lip. It's just a formation made by the wind. Look at that. There's a chip out right there. Look at that, a crack. Look at that, a crack. Nobody made this. See, by pointing out the flaws, that's evidence nobody made it. Atheists will look at what they think are flaws in the human body and say, see, nobody made it. Well, first, we're a generation, away from our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents. We're copies off of copies off of copies, okay? There are some things you just never think of. Mount Rushmore from the Canadian side. Never mind. Okay. So, the 5 mechanisms of evolution. Dan, I'm sorry. Those are not going to cause any evolution. Creation myths. All came from a single common ancestor. You believe everything came from a rock. The humans, the birds, the reptiles, and you think your 5 mechanisms are going to make that happen. I'm sorry. You debunked many creation myths out there. Now focus your attention on debunking the silly evolution myth. That's the biggest creation myth there is. Evolution. You want to teach the kids to think critically? All right, teach them to think critically. Evolution is a myth, a creation myth. Get it out of the schools. All right, any questions or comments? Randall, are we ever going to be able to go live and have comments from the crowd? Probably not. We're in Lenox, Alabama. Someday they'll discover us out here and bring electricity out to us. Yeah, that'll be great. All right, see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.